Yes, she was born in LA, brewed in New York City, but she has made her return back here. She has been walking the path with the healing spirit since she was just knee high. She is the author, the co-creator, the founder of my favorite oracle deck, the Moon Deck, which we'll be sure to give you a taste of today. And she's so much more. A yoga teacher, she is a ritual wellness advisor. We are going to dive into so much. Please welcome Arana Leah, my beauty queen. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm so good. I have been waiting for this day because since the moment I met you, it was just like sister. I connected with you. I felt the depth and the potency of you, and it resonated with me so much. I was like, this is a woman who really walks the walk, who teaches from that place of embodiment. You face shadow, like you go in, you dive in, and I could just feel that about you. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, and bringing your magic to everyone. So, you know, in your intro, when I referenced you walking on this path since you were so young, that's where I want to begin. I find that really interesting that when I was reading about you, you mentioned that from the time you were 4 years old, you started to understand your connection to source and to spirit. So can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, I don't know if I understood it, maybe at the forefront of my awareness, but I think I believed and felt a presence that was greater than mine. I felt
and when did this presence come in? Like was there a catalytic moment to it, or?
Well, I think part of it is my mom is, she passed away in March, but she has always been very, very spiritual. Whether or not she's been able to find ways to bring that into her life was a different story. I think she struggled with that, but she always nurtured and fed that side of me and taught me a lot about it at a young age. So I think it certainly started there, but I just had a natural curiosity I mean, I would literally, so my father's Jewish, and I was raised with Judaism primarily, but my mom was raised Jehovah, but became a Buddhist, but we'd celebrate Christmas.
Wow,
and then,
whoa, all the multi-dimensional,
yeah.
Okay.
And I would even like sleep at friends' houses, be like, what do you guys do on Sundays at church? And I just had this curiosity to like, I was like, as soon as I learned about tongues, I was like, I'm gonna make up my language to connect to spirit, and I would just make up languages when I was scared.
Wow.
And so I think it started off as just a normal curiosity. I had a pretty active imagination. Like I said, would make up languages, or would think I could like put my hands on people and pull out negative energy. But I think a lot of it might have stemmed from, there was a bit of chaos growing up, and when I was 4 is when my parents started to split, and that was a quite loud time. And I think in some ways, when children are scared, our imagination wakes up quite a bit. And I think there was a little bit of that, and I think some of it is just my nature.
Well, the other thing too that just hit me, it's like our soul goes into, even if it's like unconscious and we aren't totally clear as to why it's happening, our soul begins to activate in this like protective measure, because I can look back in my childhood and some of the more, you know, traumatizing things that I was going through, and how my soul was having me read from the time I started reading like books on metaphysics and the healing power of colors. And I didn't really understand why, but I think it was my soul trying to keep a healing essence through some of the more chaos and suffering. So
definitely, yeah. And I liked collecting crystals from really young, and I would, you know, pretend I could have out of body experience. So I think, like you said, it's just the spirit coming in, and I think my soul is really strong and wanted to protect me, and I think it was fed by my mom and my brother and the kinds of friends I attracted, and just even the movies I watched. I was always into like the you know, the very magical,
the cults, or like the good like the witchy movies.
Totally. And as soon as I saw one, I was like, I can do that. And
and so did you keep this essence alive throughout the entire course of this lifetime, or was there ever a gap where, you know, because I know that I had these gifts more activated at a younger age, then through different comments about my light or my exuberance, I kind of like built a shell where I blocked off some of my gifts and then I re-emerged, or was it always been a constant for you?
I think it's more or less been a constant undercurrent in everything. I've always felt a connection to that. I don't feel like I've had like drastic shifts in kind of the style in which I am in the world, but I did shove some of that down for sure. And I was very sensitive growing up, and everyone did the best they could, but I wasn't taught how to use that. I was told oftentimes, Arana, you're so sensitive, stop being so sensitive. And it, of course, at the time would come out in emotions or whatever. So I think I was like, okay, I'm too much, I'm too sensitive.
Yes,
and so
too
this
much.
weird thing of being too much and not enough all at once started to create a funny thing. And I think from that, eating disorders developed, control issues developed.
And what do you think was the root of why it manifested into an eating disorder? I know control is a piece of it, but was it?
I think self-worth and body dysmorphia, and I guess there's even a root to all of that. For me, that was coupled with sort of that illness with a very, very sincere desire to be healthy. And I was really into organic at a young age, and I got into that like around 16, 17, I started to explore vegetarianism, and I've gone through, I'm not that now, but I've gone through like every possible health code since then. And so I think it was meshed with this real desire to be healthy, coupled with this really damaging voice in my head. So the pendulum swing was wide.
Got it.
And then that would, I think, even just biochemically speaking, would throw me off, and then I would be really healthy, and I would get overwhelmed with maintaining this idea of perfection that I finally felt, and then that would just swing it even harder. And then, so it kind of,
When did you land back in the center, and when did you, what was able to get you through that time? And
well, it was a long journey, and a lot of other things transpired growing up from a young age. And I guess 8th grade is when like those issues really started to be, I was aware of them. And then throughout high school and college, it was up and down. It would kind of disappear, and then it would come back with a vengeance. And then I went, after college, I have a photography major, and that's what I kind of did for a long time. So I went to India for 6 months to document the Maha Kumbh Mela, which is like the biggest Hindu festival on the rivers. And so there, it also kind of went away and then came back really strong. And when I moved to New York in 2001, I was coming back to work on that film project. And I ended up going to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in 2001, which was really me just looking for a solution. And then I really hit bottom. And I talked to a friend who had been actually in 12-step program, and that's saved me at the time. And I was doing that for a couple of years. It was just the first meeting I went to, I was like, no way, and I like left early. And then a month went by.
Deep resistance to it.
Deep resistance. I don't like a lot of rules.
Being told what to do.
Yeah.
I have that same thing. If you tell me what to do, I'm going.
Yeah. So I had to really surrender.
Yeah.
And it was good for a couple years. I didn't do the program perfectly, but it helped to be in a room of people where I didn't feel like I was talking with 5 heads, and people understood where I was coming from. And I remember in one meeting, I actually felt this like cracking open, and in my heart, like it was getting to such a deep place, just sharing in this way and getting to be in a room where people understood. I eventually moved out of that. I was already practicing yoga during that time. It was hard for me to be in class. I needed to be a little more anonymous. It was hard for me to be in my body. I had already been practicing for a little, but then after some time, I was like, I really need to get back to my practice. And I remember my desire to be organic and all I just had a different path, and it wasn't quite fitting with that anymore. So I think that was a huge, huge stepping stone. And then diving into yoga at 19 as a huge stepping stone for me was one of my biggest things.
That's what I wanted to touch on. Is I'm really curious, with you being so tapped in and connected, and you're so multi-talented, where do you feel safe and at home?
Where do I feel safe and at home? What do you mean exactly?
When you just feel like you can breathe and lean back and surrender, are there certain environments or practices where you are just like, there's just a different essence within you and around you where you feel like you're at home?
Yeah, for sure. My mornings, I need to wake up earlier because I just have these like stretched out mornings. I'm like, I need to wake up at like 4 a.m. to fit it all in.
Is it deep with rituals in the morning?
Yeah, I have a lot of rituals, but my main thing where I feel just so safe and cozy and happy and warm is sitting at my altar during my meditations in the morning, and I just could sit there all day, and it's like feels like a little campfire to me.
Same with me. I was just at another interview, and funny enough, the other show that I was on today, the gifts she gave me at the end was the moon deck.
Oh.
I was so excited to tell you that.
Cool.
But during that interview, I was talking about my altar as well. It's just, yeah, you get enveloped by those supportive energies. What are a couple of things? Of course, you've got the moon deck on your altar, but what else?
What else I have a lot of crystals, which, like I said, I've been a collector for so long. But I have a lot of crystals, and I try to change it up. Sometimes it's just sort of spread out in no particular order, and lately I've been really creating grids and with a specific intention. I have a little area that represents, it's like a little mini shrine to my mom. So a picture of her and some other things that represent family and community. And then I have my burning smudge things, and I have my candles, and usually I work with an intention candle, which is a ritual in the moon deck. And so I often, every month, will have an intention candle set up, which is when you carve your intention into the candle and then burn it down. So I usually work with that as well.
So beautiful. And so you mentioned your mom and how you have a special sacred area in your ritual or on your altar for your mom. And so I want to talk about the year from 2016 to 2017. I know that that was one that was really pivotal, a lot of massive defining moments for you during that time. Can you share a little bit about what you faced in that time?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still kind of going through the motions, but I'm definitely in this more integrative space now. And I think through this time, I did some workshops on this where there was this little map that's like intention, transition, integration. And I feel like we set intentions and we don't always know what's coming. It's like really exciting to set them because you're already connecting to the outcome.
Yes.
And then the transition takes place. You're like, oh.
Oh my gosh. And remember where you're going next, but can we talk about that? I want to elaborate in that phase. I always explain to people that when you set that intention, trust and know that whatever is standing in between you and that desired outcome, you're going to have to come face to face with it to reckon it so you can transcend to get there. And so I always want to just let people remember that when that stuff starts to come in, you're on the right track, but you got to keep going.
It's scary though. Yeah. I mean, I guess some changes are less scary and more graceful and light. There's definitely those changes in our life, and then some are deeper and darker, and that's certainly what I've just went through. And so now I feel like I'm at this integrative space where I'm feeling nourished by the experience now. And I was very committed to remaining curious and teachable and asking for support. And so what this past time has been is going through a divorce from my ex, and it was unexpected. We had our ups and downs, but the way that it transpired was unexpected. And that was extremely heartbreaking. It brought up it brought up the most guttural healing and fears. Like that was so deep, so deep. And whether, I don't even know if it was all from this lifetime, I think some of it was my mom's, but it just like unearthed, shook up the foundation where like these, it sounds a little abstract, but like these different voices sort of got untethered from what seemed whole, that like I was like, oh, that's like, I don't want that anymore, and that's not actually me.
Wow.
And so it was
so discombobulating.
Very discombobulating.
Wow.
It disturbed like my whole system on every level. So, but it was necessary.
Sure, yes.
And yeah, I'm still kind of tying up the final pieces of all of that, but I feel if I just like put the story aside, and you know, I was in New York for 18 years and I've left there to come back home to LA when this all happened. I was looking for a place in New York, but everything in me was like, no, you're gonna sign another lease and be here for like another 5 years.
Gotta break
you've
the
been
cycle.
on the 2-year plan for 18 years.
The
like,
vortex of New York is no joke.
I know, so I came here for a 3-month trial. So that happened, and I moved out, and I decided to just sublet and put my stuff in storage and not dive into anything, which was scary, but the right decision 100%. And then my mom passed away unexpectedly a few months later.
So 2 unexpected life-changing moments.
Yeah. Wow. And I was like literally on the phone with my older brother while he got the call, and we were talking about how to, like, you know, she was getting older and like what to do, and we got this call. So then I left New York a week earlier than planned to go to Colorado and handle her affairs. And I feel her spirit all the time now, and we work together
hold space.
all
What's
the
her
time.
name?
Marcel.
Marcel. Hello, Marcel.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a powerful mama. She struggled in this life big time.
Yeah, probably because she was so gifted and
I think
open.
so, and didn't know how to channel it. And but when she passed away, a big realization was, two big realizations, was that all the resentment that we can carry towards our loved ones, like, just meant nothing anymore. It just was like, it just dissipated. And the other thing was just how sacred all of it is, like all the tough stuff, all the good stuff, all the shadow, all the light that she was for me as a teacher and mom in this life. Like, all of it suddenly became extremely sacred.
Yes,
and
I
so
felt
those
a muscle
two-
twitch on that.
Yeah, those two things, I was like, whoa. And then, of course, in life, real time living with others, I still have to, like, learn it all over again.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Well, you are definitely, as you said, you're coming out of that phase with, I'm sure, a heightened framework and a perspective, and I would guess that you're feeling even more embodied in your own potency and richness, and I don't know, I'm sure a fullness has become to envelop you after going through everything you've been through in that year.
It's feeling good. Like I said, if I just kind of put that aside, you know, it's, you mentioned this, I think, in the beginning when you introduced me, and how deep I can go.
Yes.
And I can go very deep into
can.
feeling. And there's plus and minuses to that. And I'm
Indeed.
and a lot of the teaching that I do through the Moon Deck is all about, like, okay, let's feel. I'm not a person who's like, in order to be positive in life and spiritual, you have to not feel your real emotions. You have to feel them. Because any great spell only comes to life because it's charged with pure emotion,
Absolutely.
right? Like, it's like charged with, like, things. So I think it's like we go through those motions, but we don't get so pulled into the quicksand, or we notice the downward spiral quicksand, and, like, then it becomes an indulgence. So how do we stop a little bit sooner and be like, I need to call someone right now? For me, it was my older brother all the time.
Yes.
Or pick a card, or go outside, or somehow disturb this thing that's happening.
The grace in the navigation system shifts the more that we understand, like, and trust ourselves to deal with the full range of those earthly emotions.
Totally.
So let's dive into the Moon Deck.
Okay.
You know my deep love for this deck. I use it every single day. It was actually, it played a role. I write the monthly energy forecast for Well and Good, and it was after meeting you and you blessing me. I got your Mama Moon deck because you forgot it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you mine." I was like, "Yes."
I swear this happens with, like, powerful women. I carry a deck with me constantly, and I have to, every few months I have to give it to someone, because I'm like, this is not mine anymore. This is theirs. So I had that deck, and I was like, I guess I'm giving you my deck. And it happens all the time.
I feel
not
the
all
power.
the time. It happens rarely, but it happens, like, to certain women. Yeah.
Well, I feel very honored that I got yours. And now you brought, this is your new one that you took for as your Mama
This
deck,
is,
right?
I finally found my box. Yeah.
I love it. So let's dive in. I would love for you to pull one or two cards for our viewers, whatever you feel called to pull.
Okay.
And I'm going to hold space for you as you do it.
So it comes in this magical box.
Yes. It's like a little treasure chest.
It is. We wanted something, like, sacred and enchanting that you could leave out and not just shove away into a library, you know, just like that. It was beautiful. And then I will shuffle.
I love that we're able to see how the co-creator and author of the deck gets to, how you work with it yourself. Because we all have different styles. There's so many different styles to card reading and pulling. I knock on mine. I shuffle until the card will, like, fly out of the deck or express very clearly, like, this is the one. And so I'm enjoying watching.
Sometimes I like to knock or blow on it too. I like to do the overhand shuffle just because it takes better care of the cards. And it's just become a habit for me. And it doesn't, like, flip them in all directions. All right. What does the Moon Deck want to tell us today?
Yes.
So I like to use my left hand,
Okay.
my receptive hand.
Yes.
And then just feel into any kind of magnetic or intuitive pull, which is something we'd like to cultivate anyways, right?
Yeah, for everything in life. Where is universe guiding us? Exactly. Being in that co-creative universe or relationship. Voila.
So I'll do two because this one's really calling me as well.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay, so we got, I allow stillness to heal and reveal.
Ooh, it makes total sense. The last 2.5 months, as we talked about, I went through and in total incubator mode, took off from work, went within, and I had a most potent rebirth. Like, it was the most powerful phase of my life because I went in, I allowed stillness to heal and reveal. That was this just what I'm emerging out of is this.
And this card actually is, both of these sort of allude to that, because this is the meditation card, which we both share. I am at home in my body and at peace in my spirit. So I allow stillness to heal and reveal. Doesn't mean to be inactive or static. We can still be active in life, but to have these moments of sacred pause, to have a moment of stillness so that we can slow down inside, which of course impacts our nervous system, which affects everything else. And our mind can slow down, and we can just have a little more space between our breath and our thoughts. And in that slowing down and that pausing and that stillness, we can start to feel things again with less distraction and get back into the center of our own core and heart.
And I also just love that her breasts are out. I mean, it's just, that's another thing that I've just recently reconnected to is my sexuality and really being embodied in my physical vessel, and like the, you know, just really feeling and embracing my goddessness. And I've had my breasts out a lot lately.
Nice.
So I'm really
I've been feeling that too lately.
Yeah.
I feel like in the last few months with the transition I've been going through in this new integration phase that I've just really been stepping into my feminine and goddessness and sensuality in a whole new way. And I'm like, oh.
Yes. Oh, that. Yeah. So before we wrap, I'm going to have every guest do this practice. So we're going to dive into this really quickly. So put that card down and take this pen and piece of paper. Now, without thinking, stream of consciousness style, in that top row of 3, I want you to fill in 3 options. I am ready for, and just put.
Do you want me to write I am ready? Or
nope,
okay.
just put your
I
answers
am ready
in.
for, okay. Just 3?
Yeah, just 3. Yep. First 3 that came to your mind. And now the next section, I am worthy of feeling. And then that last section of 3, my true power feels like. And then that last line at the bottom, I could just, if I can describe myself in one word, it is. Okay, now go to the top row, circle 1. Just circle 1 intuitively. Boom, circle it. Second row, circle 1. Third row, circle 1. Okay, now hand me your card. Okay, so this is your mantra statement. I am ready for prosperity because I am worthy of feeling vibrant. I allow my true sparkly power to be embodied because I am soulful. Amen. Aho. I always like to give, this came to me one day before a practice, and these are kind of like spiritual Mad Libs, like soul reboot libs.
Totally.
So that's my thank
you
you for coming on the show today with me and spending time and just sharing your creation. You're so talented, and where can people find you to dive more into your amazingness?
Thank you. Yeah, you can find me online on Instagram. I'm arana.leah, AARONA.LEA, or _moondeck.
Okay.
And same thing with the websites, aranaleah.com, themoondeck.com, and I'm currently teaching classes at Wanderlust in Los Angeles. And
highly recommend it all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Queen.
Thank you
Love,
so
honor,
much.
Respect you.
You too. Thank you.